When was the last time you went to a restaurant?
The last time I went to a restaurant was 2 days ago. Me and my sister organized a birthday party for my father, and we reserved a table at the restaurant for all of our family. Sadly, my dad was really sick on that day. I mean, nothing life-threatening, but he recovered 2 days after he was sick. But he was so sick on that day that he couldn't come to the restaurant. So only me and my sister came because we reserved it. We had a lunch and we talked to each other about what was happening in our lives.
Do you like eating at restaurants?
Yeah, I really like eating at restaurants. I think one of my biggest pleasures in life is going to a restaurant, ordering lunch, and drinking a cup of coffee. Whenever I am in a good financial situation, I always go to a restaurant and I just treat myself to a nice meal and a nice cup of coffee.
What kind of food do you order when you go to a restaurant?
Well, that depends on the time of the day. If it's morning, I like to order a light um, breakfast, usually eggs and toast with coffee, and I would also probably order a small cake for a dessert. But when it's lunchtime, I usually order a plate of pasta because I really like pasta. Sometimes I do like to experiment when I go to restaurants and I would see what their specialty is and I would just order that.
Is your own town famous for any particular dish?
Yes, it is. We have this cake that's really popular. It's a fruit cake that has a lot of cream on top. It's a cake that was made by one of the owners of a local cafe, and it caught on, and it became famous.
Do you go alone when you go to the restaurant?
Yes, I absolutely do go alone to restaurants, and in the majority of times I go to the restaurants, in the vast majority of times, I go there alone. And I do that because I just enjoy it. I just enjoy being by myself, eating something, and chilling, so to speak. You will have 60 seconds to prepare, and then you will speak for between 60 to 120 seconds. Start speaking now. My favorite food. I would say that my favorite food is a cake called the Spanish Wind. Now, I really like this cake because it's really creamy and really soft and really, really sweet. I actually gave this cake once to my wife and she also really liked it. The first time I tried this cake, I think I was in high school. I was hanging out with my classmates and I saw a cake called the Spanish Wind, and I said to myself, I have to try this. And to be honest, I was really happy that I did, because I really, really enjoyed it. I really, really loved it. Now, whether it's easy or difficult to make, I don't know, because I never tried to make it. But for me, it would be difficult to make. I mean, to create those layers of cream, it definitely would not be easy. I would definitely find it challenging. I don't eat it that often, actually, because you can usually find them in some restaurants. It's not a really common cake. It's not a cake that you can find everywhere, so I don't eat it as often, so to speak.
Do you think that a cuisine of a country is more important than the symbol of it?
Yes, I would say that it can be a really important symbol of it. For example, you have the Italians. They take a lot of pride in their cuisine. And to be honest, they have a lot to be proud of. The Italian cuisine, and they really have a specific cuisine, and it's really amazing. The same can be said about the French and the Spanish, as well as the Greeks. Now, every country has its own thing. I just mentioned the countries about whose cuisine I know something about. But, I mean, every country that I went to usually had their own breakfast, or they had their own lunch. So every country has something of theirs.
Do you think the food nowadays has lost its quality when you compare it to the food of our ancestors?
A lot of people say that it has actually lost quality, that we've used a lot of chemicals that has reduced the quality of the food. Now, I don't know if this is the case or not, because, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a nutritionist. They say that the organic food is better, the food that's made in the old way. But I don't know. I don't know that it has lost any quality. I eat the food from the local supermarket. I don't go to the farmer's market, and I am okay.
How do you think we could improve the production of food in our modern society?
Well, I think it should be locally grown. I've seen a movement that tries to stimulate people who live in apartment buildings, that tries to stimulate them to grow their own food on the roof of their buildings. And I think this is a great idea, because it would reduce the energy we need to produce food, because it's not only about production, it's also about distribution. It takes time for the food to get to us, and we need to spend the energy to get this food. Also, because we will be producing it ourselves, we would know what is in that food. So this would also, we would not have to worry about anything bad being added to the food or something.
Is it difficult to prepare meals that are healthy and give us a balanced mix of vitamins and minerals?
Well, yes, I think this is difficult. At least it's difficult for me, because if you want to have a balanced and healthy meal, you have to add a lot of ingredients, and it can be a lot of work to mix all of these ingredients together. So, yeah, I would say that that is difficult.
In what way could we diminish the food waste?
Well, I think we could do that if we plan our meals well, if we don't buy food that we would not use. We need to be certain when we buy something that we will definitely use it. So maybe instead of buying a lot of food at once, maybe we should go to the grocery store more often, maybe every 2-3 days instead of every week. And that way we could ensure that we would not waste food, because We would not buy a lot of food at once, which would increase the chances of wasting some of it.